welcome to another episode of How to Start A. I'm here today with Mark from Flawless Landscapes. Mark's someone I've known for quite a few years now because he used my business to do some work for him and his family. So I've followed Mark's journey throughout those years, especially on social media. Mark's business gets a lot of attention and a lot of shares because of the quality of his work. So I thought, why not come down and speak to Mark today and find out about how he started and how he operates every day. So I've just mentioned Flawless Landscapes.
That's us.
Noticed on the side of your van you was established in 2005. What I'm interested in, what was going on before 2005 that made you start and grow this business?
So I think essentially you could say it was an accident how we actually started, to tell you the truth. I've always been in and around the building game. As a child, I always remember being on building sites with my dad. Every house we ever lived in, we put a double extension on. I was digging through it inside. I've always been around it. So I guess you could say it's in my blood, essentially. I didn't ever really plan to be in this industry because I see how hard it was on my dad growing up. It's a tough old game. It knocks the hell out of the body. It's all weathers, etc., etc. So it weren't that appealing, to be honest with you. But I'm not the most academical, if that's the right word. I didn't do particularly well at school, so I guess it sort of led to working with my hands and and going down that route eventually. But so when I left school, I think I decided I would like to become a firefighter. I think quite a lot of young children aspire to things, firefight, police. When you hear that quite a lot at school, don't you? So I took a training day up. Went down to the local fire station and spraying hoses and cutting people out of cars. I thought, oh, this is great. Yeah, this is me. I'm gonna get the red hat and do the whole shebang. But when I went up that 60-foot ladder, I froze like a statue, and the poor guy had to carry me down on his back, and it got a big laugh. You know what I mean? I thought, okay, that's not for me. So that summer, I took a summer job at a local fencing company in the yard. I was doing that for about a year and a half, 2 years, and just by sheer chance, a fencing position come along, and I took it, and I never really looked back. I worked for them for about, I can't remember exactly how long it was, probably about a year and a half I trained with them, got pretty good at it, and then they made us all redundant. They said, we're not having the contract side of the business anymore. So it sort of forced me into it. I didn't leave and say, oh, I can do this better on my own, and I was happy to carry on working there, because I don't feel like I'd thoroughly learnt my trade to an amazing standard. But once you're pushed into that situation, you sink or swim, and I learned pretty quickly. So that's what I did, and I started Flawless Fencing, I think, in 2004, and then I think it might have been 2003 or 2004, I can't remember off the top of my head. Let's say 2003, and then I'd done that for a couple of years, and it evolved into Flawless Landscapes. I went into business with somebody else who was already a landscaper, and I'd already picked up quite a lot of the skills myself, self-taught, like you do over the years from my dad, and just doing the fencing, doing different types of groundworks, etc. Then I partnered with him, and we started it as a partnership.
Flawless Landscapes?
Yes.
That's 2005?
Correct.
Yeah.
And it went from there, really. And the story goes on from there. We parted company in 2007. He moved into London, and we just amicably split.
Fair enough.
And I carried on my own, and built it up from there.
Okay, so when you started out, I mean, what sort of vehicles did you have, equipment did you have around you? Because
ironically, when the fencing company made us all redundant, they had a knackered old Toyota Hilux pickup, knackered old thing. Car is like T-Reg or something. It looked like something out of
like one on Top Gear.
Pretty much, yeah. And they said, do you want to buy it? They didn't charge me a lot for it. I think it was about 600 quid or something. There was a lot wrong with it as well. But I just made the best of it. I had some tools that they very kindly let me keep when I parted company with them, but just hand tools. And then I just had to, every week I'd do a job, buy another tool like a grinder, and then I'd have a breaker and things for fencing. And you slowly build your kit up. Obviously I've had little bits and pieces of my dad over the years as he's wound down. I've taken bits and pieces of him, and that's it really. So essentially nothing really.
All right. So how did you get your name out there, or is it more to do with the quality of work and recommendations?
Well, it's like any time when you start something, it's a case of they don't know your quality of work, so you do have to prove that over time. But it takes time to build a reputation. I mean, 3 years at minimum, I'd say. So the first 3 years were tough. We were scratching around for work quite a lot. And then basically what I did one day, I just got some flyers made up, about 5,000. I just went out every evening, every weekend, and I just wouldn't take no for an answer.
I did that.
It's just, I didn't know any other way. So I thought, I'm just going to go to people's doors, not knock on their door and hassle them, but put a leaflet physically through. And I thought, if I get one out of every 200 I do, or 300, I'll take that. And lo and behold, once you get into some streets, the neighbour will come along, and that's just how it's just never stopped from there.
That was the turning point.
Yeah, but going fast forward in 3 years from there, we hit 2008, which was a financial crisis pretty much all over the world, the US, UK, and that was extremely tough because we were only 3 years in as a pretty new landscaping business. We were just about to start get going, and it hit us really hard. We were very, very close to having to close the doors and call it a day.
Well, that's interesting that you didn't. So what do you think kept you in the game?
Just sheer determination. I was out knocking on doors. I was doing jobs for very little money just to put a bit of food on the table. It was incredibly tough for a good, from memory. I try to forget this period because it's not a nice period, but yeah, a good couple of years I'd say. It was really tough. I mean, we were doing jobs for peanuts. Do you know what I mean? But it was better than nothing. So that was that period. That takes up to about 2008, and then really I think there's a turning point there where things started to escalate slowly, and then I would say once we got to about 2000 and I don't know, maybe 15, that's when it started to really ramp up. So they're the sort of turning points.
I mean, I've seen those turning points. Like back to what you're saying about the recession.
Mm.
After recession is expansion. It's always been that way for all of the financial and business history, and the fact that you stayed in meant that. Well,
that's what I kept telling myself. I kept saying, if I could just see this through, it's not going to be forever.
It's only going to get better.
Well, yeah, and it's not forever. It felt like it was forever at the time, but I just kept saying to myself, the good times will be back. We've just got. If it would happen now, I'm not being funny. We work for quite a few people that are recession-proof anyway. We're a bit of a higher-end market now, or a lot higher-end market than what we were when we started.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't matter now, but then we weren't. So but I just said, look, we just got to keep going.
Yeah.
So that's what we did, and yeah, we come out the end of it, and yeah, I'm glad we did.
So we sort of went from 2008, 2015 there, but in the interim, where was the expansion? Did you how many staff did you have, or was it just you and a labourer and one vehicle?
Yeah, it was for a long time because I wanted to get the basics right. I've seen a lot of people, they go in and they ramp up quick, and the quality's all over the place. They ain't got control of their staff. I never wanted that. I like to grow slowly. I mean, even now we've only got like 5-6 staff now, and then there's myself. But I ideally would like to have more than that, but you've got to have the right people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is the key. So if it means it takes another 2 years to get to that point, I'm happy to wait until we get the right people.
I mean, that's something I've touched on in some of these other videos. Is staff.
Staff's the hardest.
For me, staff very challenging. Has it been the same for you? Like
exactly
you're saying, you want to get it right, so you have to grow slowly.
You have to go slowly, and I've got like 2 team leaders, and then we have a few guys that work, between the teams and etc. etc. One of my goals for this year was to get hold of another team leader and have another third team out.
Right.
But I just haven't found that person. So
it's been challenging with all of the.
Yeah, it has. It's been frustrating, but again, it's one of them things. You've got to wait for the right people, and because I've always been one to grow things slowly. I get the foundation right and get the quality of work right, then for now to rush that now it'd be going against my whole ethos really.
Well, that's brilliant. So would you say that staff has been your biggest challenge to get the right team?
Staff getting work for us now is obviously probably the easiest thing because we've got the reputation there, we've got the portfolio, and everyone thinks we're great and all the rest of it. But it's getting staff the hardest thing. Yeah, without a doubt. Getting good staff is the hardest thing.
How do you treat your staff? I know it sounds like a silly
I'd like to think I treat them well. I'd like to think that they'd agree. I know both my team leaders would definitely agree that I'm the best boss they've ever had. I hear horror stories of how they've both been treated in the past, and I ask something from them, and 9 times out of 10 they do it. Managing people isn't easy. I've not been trained in management, running a business. Everything I do in this whole company is self-taught.
Yeah.
I've never been to college to learn anything. So, man management's not something that I've been taught. I've just had to learn it, and it's hard as well.
I've made massive mistakes with staff, and if any of my previous staff come across these videos or this video in particular, I have got it wrong in the past.
I have.
Because when it's your business, you're very sensitive to everything that goes on, and you take things personally. And I've blown up at staff. I've, let off and been a right arsehole, and I wish I hadn't at times, So I live with regrets, but staff, like I say, I work with my hands like you do. We're not taught how to deal with people, and everyone's different.
There's people I know in the building game that have been to college and they've done a bit of business and a bit of management and stuff. I've just self-taught. I've always said to myself, if I treat the guys how I want to be treated, don't mess them around with their money. I always pay on time. I don't do any of that sort of stuff. You hear horror stories of people waiting 2-3 weeks for their money. That don't happen in my firm. I wouldn't have it. So I treat them well. They ask me for something. If I can provide it, I will. But I expect the same in return, and I want reliability.
The last video we've done with Barry, we discussed, being friendly with staff, too friendly with them might not always serve you. Have you found that?
Well, one of my guys is a good friend. We've been friends for a number of years, but when it's time to work, it's difficult. I try and put it aside. It's always there. But when I say to him, look, this is enough's enough, and I'm serious with him, he does respect me enough to take that on board.
Good.
But when we're out, and if we have a beer after work one day, or we've been out the weekends before, we're friends. So it is a barrier that I'm happy to cross, but it has to be with the right person, I think.
Fair enough. What advice would you give to someone maybe watching this who's on the cusp of maybe starting out on their own? What advice would you give them? You've already said staying in it, keeping it has been what's...
Grow very thick skin, don't let things bother you, treat every day as a new beginning. If you have a really crap day and you think, I've had enough of this, just get up the next day and just be as positive as you can, and remember why you started it and where you want to be with it. And because the weaker ones will fold, and if you stay, you will achieve it. It's not easy, but you can do it.
It's hard to... I like that advice because when you naturally get on with your day to day, your week to week, you get off track, you forget about why you started.
Of course you do. And I still do that now.
Yeah. No, I think that's good advice actually, because it can be hard to do. A few of these videos we've done speaking to business owners, they all say the same thing,
Craig, I have days now, not in too distant past, and I think, you know what, I've had enough of this now. Yeah. But then I get up the next day and I think, well, actually, look what I've got, look what I've achieved, look what we've achieved as a company. We've got 2 awards this year. One of our goals at the start of this year, it would be nice to at least be nominated for an award. And we went and won 2 without even trying. They contacted us. I didn't pitch for them. So, and then I think to myself, that's a good achievement this year. So although I haven't had the third team out there turning over more work, but we have got the 2 awards. We picked up this unit this year with all our workshop and office, and we had another van. So it's not been a bad year considering the COVID and all that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
So I try and look at the positives, but yeah, it's tough. Day to day it's tough.
One of the reasons why I wanted to do this with you today is because there's a lot of people in your industry that respect what you do because they're always sharing what you do. Look at this from Flawless Landscapes, look how perfect it is. And that's what I've seen shared on social media with you, and I'm like, oh, okay, because I know Mark knows me, but we live different lives. Yeah. I've not always been really interested, but over the past probably 6 months I've really seen what Mark's doing out there, and it's all being shared online, and he must be doing good work because his peer group of landscapers and industry leaders are sharing his stuff and going, wow, look at this. So that's why I was interested, because I want to do these videos with established businesses that are doing good quality work, because we do someone who started up last year, they could be gone by next year.
I think you touched on a good point there, which something I haven't said as well. You've got to do the good quality work. It's all very well, you know, you said what keeps you going and stuff. The determination and all that, and the grit and the goodwill is great. But if you're turning out a poor product, you've got to find what you're good at. If you've got two guys in your firm and they're like carpenter type guys and they're really good at decking or fencing, and that's what. Don't send them out doing patios because you'll turn out substandard work. Yeah. So play to your strengths, but if you can find what you're good at, get really good at it, market it properly, send it out there, and people come to you. I mean, we haven't advertised for years now. People message us on social media, they reach out to our office, or they'll reach out to me personally via WhatsApp or ring me and say, look, we don't tout for work. People say, we want you, still our garden, this is our budget, when can you start?
So you don't advertise?
No, I don't advertise.
It's all been word of mouth.
All the only advertising we do is our social media, but that's not really there for advertising.
But that's to showcase. You're not putting a budget on for that, are you? You're like
there is no advertising budget on this company. There hasn't been for a long time.
So, if you were hitting the reset button, starting all over again, what would you do differently?
Start on my own and not go into a partnership. It doesn't work for me. I know there are a number of successful partnerships around, and good luck to them. They can do something that I can't. But I started this company for. Do you know one of the main reasons was to obviously do as well as I could. But I like to be able to do what I want when I want. I don't like to be told when I can and can't do something. Now that ain't the reality. You're working for a customer. You've got to. Yeah, do you see what I mean? But I mean generally, like today. Being able to sit down and do this. If I work for someone, I wouldn't be able to do it. I just like that bit of freedom.
Oh, absolutely,
yeah.
Because I've been at points like you were saying earlier where it gets real tough and you think, I don't want to carry on. But, doing a U-turn and going back to being employed, you're out of the household. Yeah, I'm the same now.
I wouldn't last 5 minutes working for somebody because I've worked for myself for so long now, I don't know anything else. Really, other than working for Sainsbury's when I left school as like checkout dude for like a few months or whatever.
That's where I know you from.
Yeah, exactly. All the dodgy scanning. But I just think I don't know that life very well. So to then go and work for somebody, I just wouldn't last 5 minutes.
I mean, there's such a richness to being in control of your own destiny.
Absolutely.
Which you don't realise until you actually live it.
It's a pressure, but it's a good pressure. Yeah. You've got to be able to manage it.
It's the same as me now. I've got 2 businesses on the run, and I'm going to take half a day out to come down and do this. And someone asked me the other day, why are you doing these videos? You're spending money getting all this production done and taking the time.
Yeah.
But for me, I feel so lucky to live the life I live now that I want to start giving back. And it's nice that we've got the luxury that we can take a bit of time out for this Thursday or whatever.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's really what I was getting at before you said that, is that it's just that bit of freedom, just to be able to say, no, today I'm actually going to focus on this, and that things are still moving along.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, that's a massive plus for me.
So I like to, I think we've gone through pretty much your story and how it was done. I like to finish on, if you've got any, stories where you've had some real bad drama, and a story where, do you know what, we went above and beyond, and it's a bit more positive. So have you got like a negative story which was really tough on you?
Oh,
I mean, you sort of
for that one.
and then a positive one, where you've just whatever comes to mind. What was a bad time for you? I mean, you did say the recession was pretty bad, but have you ever had any a job?
I'll tell you what was probably the lowest point. I used to have a little garage in Welling Garden near the flat I had. I used to rent a flat off a mate when I first moved out, and we stocked it up with new kit, and then 2 days later someone broke in and took the whole lot, £7,000. Now I forgot about that actually. Now apart from that 2008 recession time, that was the lowest of the low, because
so you had all your tools in it?
Everything though, all my hand tools. Like I had to go and buy new hand tools that day to do the job, and I had to go and hire kit that I just bought. It's about £7,000, and I just remember bursting into tears. It's the only time I've ever cried in this company, but I just went down on my knees and just cried, and I just thought, why the hell am I doing this? But I just thought to myself, if I can come back from this, there ain't nothing worse. You know what I mean? Having all your kit nicked and all the rest of it. I've had my van broken into recently, and they've just taken all my drills and stuff like that. But you know, if I think I'm going to go through my whole career and not have someone break into my van and take my tools, it's unrealistic in my mind.
Do you know the way I look at things like that? Although that's devastating, completely with you on that, you know, I've had vans broken into, it's horrible.
It is horrible.
But it's at those points when those things really break you, you can do a U-turn and go back that way.
That's
or
the key.
Stick at it.
If you're going to let something like that wipe you out and you just say, right, throw the towel and go and work in Tesco's, you're not going to make it. You need to be so resilient in this game.
Quitters never win and winners never quit.
Absolutely. In a nutshell, that's it.
That's business.
Perfect summarisation of that.
So let's finish on a positive now. You've gone through all that crap and you've had all your tools nicked and recession. Like, what's the thing that comes to mind? You're like, do you know what? That was a fantastic time.
Do you know what? I think it's probably the awards. The fact that they come in quick succession and they were run.
And that was this year.
That was this year. I think because they were unexpected.
Was you nominated for that?
Yeah, but all we got was an email come through in the office saying, you've been nominated for this award. I thought, well, what's this? And then I looked into it and they've done their research throughout the whole of the southeastern London, picked us. And then we got an award through the post stuff. They normally do an award ceremony, etc., but what with COVID couldn't happen, which was a bit of a shame, but I was still over the moon. And literally about 2-3 months later, another company had done the same, sent us saying you've been shortlisted, and I thought, well, we've won one, we ain't going to win another. And lo and behold, we won that as well. So I think to have them come in quick succession and them to be so unexpected was really nice, and that was definitely a massive high of this firm. Yeah, to you know, the fact that they were unexpected potentially, but yeah, really nice.
That's amazing. So Flawless, where it's at now, you've got what, 3-4 vans?
3, I've got another one coming, so that'll be 4.
4 vans. You've got 6.
Yeah, it changes all the time because we've got an apprentice
right
at the moment. It's between 4 to 6 people. It changes all the time.
And you want to add another team?
I'd like to, yeah. I'd like to have another team leader with a labourer or one of the guys we've got that's training up and have them out. That's the next milestone I want to hit.
Brilliant, and you'll get that soon.
I think so. Yeah, it's just about finding the right person, but we're going around eyes wide open. So.
And where would you see yourself in 5 to 10 years' time? The business and yourself.
I think personally, I'd probably stop at a 4th team. I wouldn't want to be any bigger than that because then that really is a lot for me to, you know, unless I had another manager on board, like, you know, a general manager overseeing as well. I don't know, but yeah, I think if I had a 4th team and we were just working constantly with them, I'm happy with a unit this size, maybe another vehicle. I'd be happy and then just leave it at that and just carry on at that. I'd be happy at that. I don't want to be one of these humongous firms with 10, 12 vans because I like the personal feel our company has. Everybody knows me well, and we're almost like a little mini family, if you like. And we have the fights that families have as well sometimes. It's not all champagne and roses, but that's reality of life. But
I think there's some things you said today which, when I started out in business, I wanted to take on the world. I wanted nationwide business. I wanted 50 vehicles. But the reality is, when you're running a small team, that can be such a challenge and such a lot of stress that it's humble that you're wanting to grow the business slowly. You've got a sort of set amount of teams you want, and you'll be happy.
4. We're 4.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
You'll be happy to do that. I think that's.
I think once you go above that, for me personally, in my view, you lose that sort of
personal quality.
Yeah, you do. You just become a big firm then, and I don't believe you're viewed in the same way, and I don't believe the work would be as special because it'd be a little bit diluted because we'd have so much going on.
And then if we go back to what you said originally, this is why I started. That's, I assume, why you just want the 14 go, because you're back to, I want to do a good quality job.
You're only as good as your last job. The quality of your end product is king, and it always will be.
So what we haven't discussed with Mark as we're coming to the end is Mark's a family guy. He's got a missus and a little boy, and he's got a same dog as me actually, English Bull Terrier called Arnie. But yeah, Mark's a family guy, and you know he's got his own personal Instagram, and I see bits about his family, and that's what you're ultimately doing it for, isn't you? For your own family unit, and that's a sweet little unit they've got there. So, I mean, we'll pretty much wrap it up there if that's all right. And
fantastic.
Well, appreciate your time.
No,
thank you for sharing your story. because I didn't know this.
Not a lot of
about
people
them.
do. Not a lot of people are interested, I don't think. Well, in my circle, with this the audience you're looking to hit, that might be untrue.
Well, these videos are a bit of a funny one because it's not like we're talking about Smurfs every day and people who love Smurfs are going to just gravitate towards my Smurf channel. It's a pretty broad channel of how to start this and how to start that. But what I hope to do and bring to people is inspiration.
Well, if I could inspire one person to stick their neck out and really get stuck in and make a success of themselves, if my time today has allowed that, it's been well worth it. Just one person.
This is the thing. So the first video I made was how to start a dog walking business with
See that?
Steve. You know Steve?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
From the gym.
Yeah.
He's a lovely guy, but it's almost like, well, why do you want to film me and blah blah blah? Because
that's the point I was making. I didn't feel that people would be interested, but if it does help, then great.
We've got a few. Only if the video's not been viewed a million times. It's we're small.
Yeah.
But some of the comments on it, I sent them to Steve and said, this is why I've done the video, because there's 3 people I can think of that commented who've gone, really great advice, really good to see, it's inspired me, like a few key little words that I'm like, yes, that's why I'm doing it. And like I say, really, really appreciate you taking the time out today, because I know you've got to shoot off soon, because you are a busy man.
But I am, but this is, like I say, if it's helped one person in this video, then I'm all for it.
Brilliant. So
anyone needs the help.
We'll wrap it up now. Appreciate you joining us. This is another video from our How to Start A. Please like, comment and subscribe, and look out for more content coming along soon. Thanks very much. Take care.